It was a dark and stormy night when my friends and I embarked on a road trip that would forever haunt our memories. We were college students looking for adventure, and we had decided to take a break from our mundane lives to explore the countryside. Little did we know that we were about to experience a horror story that would leave us scarred for life. As the rain poured down relentlessly, we stumbled upon a remote and decrepit motel on the outskirts of a small, eerie town. It seemed like something straight out of a horror movie, with flickering neon lights and a faded sign that simply read, "The Whispering Pines Motel." Our options were limited, so we reluctantly decided to check in. The motel's lobby was dimly lit, and the receptionist, a gaunt woman with hollow eyes, gave us a chillingly emotionless welcome. She handed us a rusty key and directed us to our room at the end of a long, poorly lit corridor. We couldn't shake the feeling that something was off, but exhaustion from our journey led us to dismiss our unease. As we entered our room, a musty odor greeted us, and the dim light revealed peeling wallpaper and creaky floorboards. The unsettling ambience was enough to send shivers down our spines, but we were too tired to turn back. We convinced ourselves that it was just a shabby motel, nothing more. The night was eerily quiet, save for the incessant rain tapping on our window. Just as we were about to fall asleep, we heard a faint, ghostly whisper. At first, we thought it was our imagination, but the whispers grew louder and more distinct. It was as though the very walls of the motel were talking to us. Terrified, we ventured into the hallway, following the whispers to their source. They led us to a locked door at the end of the corridor, one that we hadn't noticed before. We pressed our ears against the door, trying to decipher the words. It was an otherworldly language, a cacophony of tortured souls that sent chills down our spines. In a panic, we returned to our room, determined to leave this cursed place. But when we tried the door, it wouldn't budge. It was as though the motel itself had imprisoned us. We pounded on the walls, screamed for help, but no one came to our rescue. We were trapped. The night wore on, and the whispers grew louder, more menacing. We huddled together in fear, praying for dawn to break. When morning finally came, the whispers ceased, and the door unlocked. We wasted no time gathering our belongings and fleeing from the Whispering Pines Motel. To this day, we cannot explain the horrors we experienced that night. We never reported it to the authorities, fearing they would dismiss our story as a mere hallucination. But the scars remain, a reminder that some places hold secrets too sinister to comprehend. We vowed never to speak of that night again, lest the whispers return to haunt us once more. It was the summer of 2018, and I was embarking on a cross-country road trip, seeking adventure and a break from my mundane life. I didn't have a set plan, just a desire to explore the open road and discover hidden gems across America. Little did I know that one night in a remote motel would turn my journey into a horrifying nightmare. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I found myself in the heart of Wyoming, far from any major towns or cities. The vast, empty landscape stretched out before me, and my fuel gauge was dangerously low. I knew I needed a place to rest for the night, and my GPS led me to a motel that appeared like a mirage in the desolate wilderness. The sign outside simply read, "The Twilight Haven Motel," its neon lights casting an eerie glow in the gathering darkness. The building itself seemed to have weathered years of neglect, with faded paint and a general air of decay. I hesitated but ultimately decided to check in, the exhaustion from my journey overriding my reservations. The motel's lobby was dimly lit, and the receptionist, a middle-aged man with a disinterested expression, handed me an old-fashioned key and directed me to room 13, at the far end of a long, dimly lit corridor. The hallway had a musty odor that made my skin crawl, but I dismissed it as an expected quirk of an old motel. My room was a grim sight, with peeling wallpaper and a sagging mattress. The window overlooked an overgrown courtyard, where twisted trees cast eerie shadows in the moonlight. Despite my unease, I convinced myself that it was just a place to rest for the night, and I crawled into bed. As I settled in, an unsettling silence enveloped me. It was as if the world outside had ceased to exist. Just as I was about to drift into an uneasy slumber, I heard it, an echoing whisper, barely audible at first, growing steadily louder. The whispers seemed to emanate from the very walls of the motel, an incomprehensible murmur that sent shivers down my spine. I exchanged frightened glances and decided to investigate. I followed the whispers through the dimly lit corridor, where they led me to an unmarked door. As I approached, the words grew more distinct, but they were in a language I couldn't identify, a language that seemed to belong to another world. With trembling hands, I pressed my ear against the door, trying to make sense of the words. The chanting reached a chilling crescendo, and I recoiled in terror. It was as though an evil presence lurked just beyond that door, a malevolence beyond my understanding. Panicked, I rushed back to my room, only to find that the door had locked itself from the outside. It was as if the motel itself had turned against me, trapping me in a nightmarish purgatory. I pounded on the walls, screamed for help, but my pleas went unanswered. I was alone, imprisoned in the Twilight Haven Motel. The night dragged on, the whispers and chants growing more intense. I huddled, fearing the unknown horror that lurked just beyond my door. It was a night of torment that defied explanation. When dawn finally broke, the whispers ceased, and the door unlocked as mysteriously as it had become locked. I wasted no time packing my belongings and fleeing from that wretched place, leaving the Twilight Haven Motel behind me. I never reported the incident to the authorities, fearing they would dismiss my story as a hallucination. But the terror of that night still haunts my dreams, a chilling reminder that some places harbor unspeakable horrors. I vowed never to speak of it again, hoping that the whispers would never return to torment me.